Nobody's going, let me lick the ramekin. People just have most of a souffle and go, that was so good. And then you go and I mean, that's why I learned how to make a souffle. I don't know about you guys. 下午好，我们的亲朋好友们. Because literally nobody has asked me to do this, today we're gonna make a souffle. When people think about souffles, they think you can't even open the oven door. They're so sensitive. You can't do this. You can't do that. You have to have the right grammages. Da, 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 da. Not necessarily true. If you look at the recipes for souffle, it runs the gamut from a Gordon Ramsay style souffle where it's like a crème pâtissière with cornstarch with flour cooked out, cooled down, then mixed in with meringue. And then there's also the other extreme, which is the Joël Robuchon style, which is just egg whites and chocolate. And they both make souffles. The only reason we're doing this is because I wanted to demonstrate a lot of the times grammages and weights aren't actually that important. You can intuit how to cook absent the numbers to do so. Caveat being you understand some very basic chemistry, physics, and just vibes of the dish. It is an egg foam flavored, baked, half done. That's it. The egg foam is a matrix of egg white proteins beaten within an inch of its life to contain air, sent into an oven at a relatively high rip-roaring heat that is balanced in such a way that the steam generated inside the foam lifts the foam up as the proteins inside the foam are coagulating to create a soufflé, or risen in French, structure, but the very center is just barely warm. It's like a 三分熟鸡蛋羹泡沫. Let's start with how I make a recipe-free souffle. Here's some butter that goes into a pan. I am making enough souffle mix for these little espresso cups. Cute little espresso cups that we have in the restaurant, branded with the Magpie logo, which you cannot buy anywhere because we don't sell them. And within these 6 espresso cups are 4 eggs. I like my souffles quite fluffy, quite loose, which means a higher ratio of egg white foam to base. And I'm assuming that the egg whites will at the very least double in size during my whipping, but collapse through the folding. So the entire volume of cups cut in half in eggs, plus 1 for safety. So I've done 4 eggs, all right? Now, as I've been bullshitting, my butter is now note. In my note butter goes some flour. Doesn't matter what flour. I'm using cake flour here, and the texture I want is roughly this. Toothpaste. Toothpaste is the color I want. This recipe came to me because when I was apprenticing, someone wanted to fire me by forcing me to make 100 soufflés in one afternoon, and I didn't have the time to make a crème pâtissière, so I just started with a roux. Because it's faster to make a thick bechamel and then add egg yolks into it rather than make a crème pâtissière from scratch. And in the context of a soufflé base, it doesn't really matter because I'm not tasting the smoothness of my crème pat. I just need some starch to help the structure along. So after I cook my roux, my butter and flour, to this, it starts foaming, in goes my milk. Now, you can say I'm add it little by little to prevent the lumps, you know, go in and work in the roux and break it down. That is the traditional way of doing it. I have never bothered, and it hasn't worked out poorly for me. So what I do is I grab a whisk, because that's the right tool, and I just don't bother with tradition. It's really helped my cooking these years. Hot roux, cold liquid, in goes the amount I want. That's not little by little. That's all the milk I'm gonna use, and I just whisk the crap out of it. And look, I've created a lump-free sauce. Now, I want a double thick roux. By double thick, I mean like wallpaper paste. I don't want this to be a sauce. I want this to be a paste. I want it to look like crème pâtissière. And crème pâtissière is quite thick. So my milk and roux mixture, my bechamel, has to be thicker than a crème pâtissière because I'm putting in egg yolks later. Speaking of my egg yolks, I'm gonna put my eggs into this bowl now. Always crack your eggs on a flat surface, in theory, so as to not drive any shell into the bowl. So here in Asia, another reason is because the outside of your egg might still have chicken poo on it. So don't drive the poo into your egg. I am 3 eggs in, 3 egg yolks in, and I have what looks like a crème pâtissière. At this point, I have to decide, do I want to use my 4th egg? I don't mind not. This is kind of the texture I want. I could go for the extra egg, but I feel pretty safe in knowing that that's going to fill up at least 5 ramekins. 1, 2, Jeremy's here, you're here. Mei's going to have 1. Mom's already left. So yeah, 5 is enough. So let's talk a little bit of theory. Most recipes for a souffle call for a base. The base is usually a mixture of liquid and starch. In France, traditionally, it's a crème pâtissière. If you've ever seen cooking videos where they make a really thick custard, so flour, some kind of starch, could be cornstarch, could be flour, mixed with usually egg yolks, beaten with sugar until it goes ribbony, and then you heat up or scald some dairy, which is some milk. Then you pour the milk or liaison, into your base of egg yolk and sugar, and then you pour that heated mixture back into the pan, and while whisking on a low heat, bring it up to a boil, and then it thickens, and you cool it in a sheet tray. That's called a crème pâtissière. That is of a recipe. Well, then why can't I just do that the faster way, which is make a thick bechamel, which is hydrated starch, which is much less labor and skill and experience intensive, and then as it's cooling down, whip in some egg yolks. It's the exact same shit. And here we have the egg whites. Usually I season my egg white with the sugar, and if you have it, feel free to add some 90酸青甲 cream of tartar in the West. It's a baking ingredient. It's a mild acid byproduct of winemaking. And you just start beating the crap out of it. Now, if you have a stand mixer at home, feel free to do this in a stand mixer. But if you need to stretch out an episode on YouTube, then use your hands so you can bullshit and talk at the same time. One tip I do have with hand whisking is when you face your palms down and your hands are internally rotated, you're using your upper arm to beat. And once your upper arm gets a little bit tired, you can face your palm inwards like this, and then you're using your wrists, which is your forearms. And you can switch between the two so that one part doesn't get tired before the next. All right, once you've reached a completely white foam like this, you start adding in your sugar bit by bit. My habit is that I do all of my sugar seasoning in this step. Because if you put part of the sugar in here, then you're gonna forget how much sugar you put in there, then you have to go back to remembering and tasting everything. Here, this way, you can just taste this once, know that this is unseasoned. Then all you have to do is worry about over-seasoning this so that when they mix together, they create a good amount of sweetness and balance. What you want is medium-ish peaks. That's my little peak there. And if I tap, 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 it'll move. That's how I define my medium peaks. Here, I'm gonna stop. And I'll finish the last 5% of whisking later to refresh the egg whites once I'm ready. Right now, what I must do is the lubing. I must lube my little espresso cups. Now, if you're fancy and better educated than me, then please feel free to use a brush and make gay little strokes upwards. Because according to a lot of famous chefs, the little stripy butter strokes going upwards will help encapsulate the soufflé mix and then help it rise. It's pointing in the direction of up. I feel like that sounds a lot more like this than it sounds like this, but that's just me. Because in my experience, I could just take the butter, go in there and finger it violently, and it ends up the same. Because the butter is just a substrate for the sugar to latch onto, and the sugar is what's embedding itself in the surface of the foam, and that's what's getting carried up. So realistically speaking, as long as you have a continuous substrate of butter, you should be fine. So don't be shy about the amount of butter you use. In fact, a lot of the times I would even recommend that you butter the sides heavily and the bottom not really as much, because you don't really care about the bottom. The bottom, if it latches, it latches. And if we're honest, when you're having a souffle, nobody really eats the bottom film anyways. Nobody's going, let me lick the ramekin. Usually when you make a souffle for someone who's like, well, that's so impressive that you know how to do this. And they have 3 bites and go, oh my God, souffles are like my favorite, or I've never had one before. And then they have 3 bites and then they're impressed, and then you just go smash your parts together. All right, cool. So here I have some sugar. This can be chocolate shavings. It can be cocoa powder. It can be matcha. Matcha. It can be anything, but let's stick with sugar to keep it traditional. So we fill up the mold with sugar, and then we twist and pour, and we create a perfect little sugar capsule. Now, traditionally speaking, you would flavor your base with a little bit of Grand Marnier. We are too poor to afford Grand Marnier, so we use Cointreau. Well, there are a few little lumps in here, but it doesn't matter. I'm making a souffle. You're never going to notice the lumps, so I don't recommend anybody get stressed out over things they're not going to see in the final product. So we have a medium stiff peak now. We can finish it up in the last 30 seconds of whipping. As I'm doing this, I've magically set my oven to 200 degrees on the lowest amount of fan possible. If you can, shut the wind off in your oven because it'll blow your souffle over. This is one of those desserts that was invented before convection. So if you look at baked good ovens and you're really confused on whether I should or shouldn't have fan, should you turn the fan off should be decided by when this recipe appeared in the world. If this recipe appeared before fan ovens, then it's probably designed to be baked with ovens that don't have wind in them. So think about it like that. Now, tradition would tell you to start folding gently and gingerly immediately. I like to sacrifice the tip of a whiskful of mixture just to lighten the batter first. And then from here, I move my egg whites to the side and I pour in my heavy stuff on this side so as to not collapse the egg white foam. And then I can lift the heavy stuff over the light stuff, and as it drapes down, it will, in my experience, cause the least amount of damage to my mix. This is how I do it. It is not proper, not correct, and if my chef was here to see this, he would set me on fire. But it's worked, and I've been open for 10 years now, and his career is over. So I got the last laugh. Now, this is the amount of mixed I like. You can still faintly see a little bit of white coloring, and that's fine with me, because the pouring of my mix will also be part of my mixing process. Fuck. Cool. Grab a flat little scrapey thing, and then we flatten our soufflés out. Use this opportunity to redistribute the top of your soufflé. If that nice big flat top is very important to you, then this is a step that I highly recommend. Otherwise, just slightly underfill them. And by underfill them, I mean like fill them within a millimeter of the top, and you have yourself a little soufflé. Now, another thing you should do is run your thumb around the edge of the mold to release it. Small detail here, when you finish running your thumb around the edge of the mold, release your thumb inwards instead of crossways so that you don't end up reattaching your soufflé and welding it to the edge of your mold. Cool, nice. In the oven it goes. Ramekins this side, I bake at 10 minutes to start. I'll start checking on them after 5 though, if I'm honest. Butter goes inside. Lube this bowl with butter. I feel so bad because you're going to end up learning all this English that you can't say anywhere. Like, can you imagine you just go up to a random person in the West trying to make friends, and then for some reason, like, you talk, and 莫名其妙被扇一巴掌。你也不知道发生了什么. You're just talking to some nice little white lady, and then all of a sudden you just get smacked and sued. Okay, perfect. Soufflés also work if you freeze them beforehand. You can put this in the freezer. It won't go as tall after you bake it, but you can do this and you'll seem impressive at a dinner party. All right, so let's send this into bake. I'm gonna open this oven while those are still baking. It's not a big deal. Okay, now, how did I choose my base recipe for how much eggs and how much flour? I didn't. Recipes like this, if you're being honest with yourself and I'm being honest with myself, I don't think anybody has ever made a recipe they read somewhere to the amount of dishes they have. The recipe is always scaled improperly for the amount of molds you have. You have 5 molds and it makes 6 molds of mixes. You have 4 molds and it makes 3. It's always inaccurate. So if you stress out about shit like that, then you're kind of an asshole anyways. It was already a not problem to begin with, so don't make it a new problem now. Anyways, it's been 5 minutes. Let's check on our soufflés. So this has been 8 minutes. It could have been less.
Wow, so cool.
妹妹，过来. See? Look how cute. It has a cute little chef's hat. It fell over a little bit to the side. That's the sign of a good soufflé. It smells slightly eggy, which is also a good thing. The only thing that we have to worry about now is, did I nail the inside doneness right? Now, bear in mind, the smaller that soufflés get, the more unlikely you are to have a beautiful crust on the outside, as well as a done cooked on the inside, but this is as close as it gets. So let's check the inside. No, this is a little overcooked. Could have gone less, 3 minutes less, but good enough for me. If we're honest, it's a really boring dessert, but it looks like you know what you're doing. It looks like you cook a lot. If you wanted a low budget way of looking impressive in front of people who cook even less than you with no recipe, this is the way to go. Quick little recap. Don't be too worried about your bases and your starting measures. What I recommend you do is always use your molds as reference to what you're trying to do. In my pot, I put just a spoon of fat and a spoon of flour to make some thick paste. This is just an egg foam baked hot with starch as a supporting structure. It's really not that deep. Yeah? Let me know in the comment section if you have questions. I'm more than happy to walk you guys through it. And thank all of the nobody who asked me to do this, so I have a chance to do this. I probably won't again in the future, but it depends on if you guys like it or not. Talk often, talk soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. If you were working in a kitchen and you just learned English, and you learned English from here, and you go up to your colleague and say, hey, can I lube your mold? Instead of saying, can I butter that for you? Like, I'm sure someone will... Yee.